Hello painters, welcome to another oil painting video demonstration. Today we're going to look at how I painted a small still life. This is a fun subject that we did in class the other week because, as everybody knows, National Donut Day is just around the corner at June 2nd. In this video I take a painting from the toned 9 by 12 canvas panel to a finished painting of a stack of donuts complete with icings and jimmies. So please leave a comment below and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more of these videos. I'd really appreciate it. And enjoy! All right, as I mentioned, I started by toning my canvas with yellow ochre pale and a bit of Gamsol. I just like to be able to judge values a little bit easier with a toned panel. And then I started into the drawing. The drawing is painted very thinly with transparent red oxide, thinned with Gamsol. And I want to capture really the four big shapes of this composition: the background, the foreground, the rectangular stack of donuts, and the leaning donut, which is really just a series of ellipses tilted along an axis. It's the whole, the icing, the donut, each is its own ellipse. And I always begin my drawings by finding a set of true and accurate points. In this case, I established the outer corners of the rectangular stack, and then I drew in the leaning donut. I want to ensure that the composition sits properly within the canvas. I use my brush to measure the distance and height and make comparisons. For instance, the width of one of the donuts in the stack is just a little bit more than half of the height of the entire stack. And figuring out these relationships is a very useful tool for making an accurate drawing. For the sake of speed, as this was a demo done in front of the class, I skipped the monochromatic underpainting on this piece and went directly into establishing my darks, followed by a blocking in of the large masses of color and value. Now, the key to giving these donuts a three-dimensional form is recognizing that there is a light source coming from the right, and so the donuts are going to be on the left side. They're going to be darker, and they're going to be darker underneath as well. So establishing those darks, recognizing those darks, showing the viewers of the painting where those darks are, is going to be really important to establishing these objects as three-dimensional forms. In this block-in stage, it is okay to simply mass in shapes with a mid-tone. Highlights and details and smaller shapes will all come later. My goal is to cover the canvas with a reasonably close value and color mixture. And in order to cover these large areas rapidly, I'm mixing my paint with liquid, which makes it flow and spread much easier, and it also speeds the drying time so that I can go into additional layers on top of my block-in without waiting a great deal of time. So I'm fairly unimaginative, and I try to stay as close to the original image as possible with some of these colors, but color is what makes this piece fun, and I encourage the students to make the changes to satisfy whatever they wanted to do with it. The icing can be really changed up quite a bit, and not only the icing, but of course the background and the foreground as well. The moment when the block-in is completed is often the point where many of us ask, where do I go from here? And at this point, I often grab my palette knife and scrape off the heavy paint so that I can start right away and lay down another layer on top of the first. And to do that, I always begin by reestablishing my darks. A lot of people are afraid of scraping off the paint, but I find that it actually can be quite helpful because it blurs the edges, it smears paint across shapes, it softens the darks and lights, and the result is often pretty pleasing and reminds us of the effect we were really after in the first place, which is something, a painting that's loose and soft and painterly. In a still life, the background is an opportunity to use that shape and color to really highlight and push the objects that you're painting. So you know, you need to make some decisions whether it's light or dark, or warm or cool. And in this case, I decided a clean background of just a warm gray would be nice to set off the oranges inside the cakey part of the donut, and also the various icing colors. I didn't want anything to compete too dramatically with all of those different icing colors. When you redo or use paint in your background, it is another opportunity to carve out the shape of the objects that you're painting. So I'm using my background here to show those indentations where the donuts meet, to really refine the edges. Now, I felt that the cakey part of the donut did need to be fairly accurate in color, and it's a bit of a brownish orange color here, and that I achieved by mixing yellow ochre pale with a bit of cad red and a little bit of transparent red oxide. I added white into that mixture to achieve the lighter parts, and I added to achieve the darker parts, ultramarine blue mixed with a little bit of transparent red oxide to establish those darker shadowed passages of the donuts. The donut with the blue icing is really the most prominent of the set, and so I am paying a little bit of attention to the color here and the highlight on it. And now to add all those interesting and fun jimmies. And as annoying as they are to paint individually, if you give yourself 15 minutes, you can lay them in. And I used a number 2 filbert brush and just the sharp edge of it, picked up some various colors and laid it down across the icings of the various donuts. I probably went overboard with these jimmies, putting in too many of them. You really only need to put in a few to suggest that they're there, but I do think they're nice because they tie the whole composition together a bit more, and just add a bit of life and vibrancy to the subject. I recommend you do have a maul stick on hand for little details like this to steady your hand when you need to paint something very detailed in the middle of your canvas. It's really helpful. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little video demonstration of this painting, and I hope you leave a comment if you have anything to say about it, and hit the subscribe button. I look forward to speaking with you next time. Take care.